I push through those heavy oak doors, classic, stubborn things, and my heels echo on the floor. Every step is practiced, steady, even though there's a mess of nerves swirling inside me. The air smells like lemon polish and old paper, comfortingly familiar. I've walked these halls more times than I can count, but not like this. Never as the one on trial. Right away, I spot my parents. Or, well, the people I'm supposed to call my parents. The word doesn't even fit. Giselle's all perfection. Her nails are flawless, her hand resting on her lawyer's arm as she leans in, whispering something that makes them both smirk. Her diamond bracelet flashes, scattering rainbows across the wall. She's in full costume, Chanel suit, freshly done hair, that same honey blonde shade she's clung to since I was a baby. A baby she left behind. Roland hangs back, glancing at his watch. He's softer now, like time's worn down his baseball player swagger, but he still stands like he owns the place, convinced he'll walk away the winner. They don't see me right away, and I'm grateful for the second to steady myself. To remember why I'm here. Giselle's voice slices through the buzz. Look who finally showed up, she stage whispers to Roland. Our abandoned daughter graces us with her presence. Her words sting, old wounds flaring up. I smooth my plain black suit and walk past them, ignoring their drama, and head straight to the defendant's table. They keep whispering, but I focus on my notes, on breathing, on not letting them in. The bailiff calls out, "All rise." The Honorable Judge Robert Reynolds presiding. We stand. Judge Reynolds sweeps in, all robes and authority, and his eyes land on me. Assistant District Attorney Soren, he says, genuine surprise in his voice. I answer, somehow sounding calm. Yes, Your Honor. Family matters bring us all to unexpected places. I hear Giselle suck in her breath. When I glance back, Roland's gone pale. They had no idea. They didn't know their forgotten daughter had turned into a prosecutor, and a good one. The power they thought they held just slipped away. Their attorney, Silas Thorne, is the first to recover. His face hardens. He's not looking at easy prey anymore. He's facing real competition. Suddenly, I'm not in the courtroom. I'm in Portland, Maine, summer of 1998. Heat sticks to your skin, tempers flare. I'm just a baby, 4 months old, clueless about the fight happening at the trunk of the car. My parents are arguing. It's just for a few months, Mom, Giselle tells Clara, who's holding me close. Just until we get established. You know how hard it is starting out. Clara's jaw is tight. On the porch, Walter watches everything, quiet but sharp. He's retired now, but he still carries that judge's weight. The baby needs stability, Clara says, voice low but firm. Giselle just rolls her eyes, fixing her lipstick in the car mirror. She has you, doesn't she? Roland slams the trunk. We've got to hit the road if we want to make it before dark. They kiss me goodbye, barely, like they're already gone. The car pulls away. I don't know it then, but a few months will drag into years, broken only by those awkward, obligatory holiday visits. What I do know is the feeling of Clara's tears on my forehead as she watches her only daughter drive off. My grandparents gave me what my parents never did. Walter taught me about justice with bedtime stories, real cases, hard choices. Clara's kitchen was love itself, steady, simple, always there. They never missed a school play or awards night. They sat front row every time, while my parents' seats stayed empty. When Giselle and Roland did show up, it felt fake, all performance, nothing real. Then Clara died. I was 17. A stroke, gone overnight. The funeral was small, dignified, just like her. My parents showed up late. Giselle complained about her dress in the bathroom while I stood by my grandmother's casket. I'll make you proud, Grandma, I whispered, hand pressed to the polished wood. Walter put his hand on my shoulder, his grief as raw as mine. That's when it hit me. My real family wasn't Giselle and Roland. It was right there, in the love and steadiness of two people who chose me every single day. Still, even then, some small, foolish part of me lit up when Giselle hugged me after the service. Walter saw it, how my face lit up, just for a second, at that rare sign of affection from my mother. I still wanted them to stay. I told him that later, in a voice so small I barely recognized it as my own. I felt stupid for admitting it, honestly. Walter just looked at me with this soft, sad understanding. Love's a choice, Anya. Every single day. Your parents only made that choice when money was involved. I barely have time to think about that now. Miss Soren, Judge Reynolds says, snapping me back. Will you be represented by counsel today? Before I can get a word out, Silas Thorne stands up. Your Honor, the plaintiff questions Miss Soren's competence to manage substantial assets. Giselle, right beside him, nods so hard I think her head might fall off. She still doesn't get it. I almost feel bad for her. I sit up straighter. Your Honor, I'll be represented by Marcus Vance. And just for the record, I prosecuted 3 successful fraud cases here last month. Judge Reynolds gives a tiny nod. That's all I need. He can see right through them, and for the first time since Walter died, I know exactly how this is going to end. Just a month ago, rain hammered against the windows in Walter's study. The house was so quiet after the funeral, I could hear the storm and nothing else. I stood there in front of his old mahogany desk, staring at a wooden box I'd never noticed before. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked on steady, relentless. What secrets were you keeping from me, Walter? I lifted the lid and found a stack of leather-bound ledgers, each marked with a year. 24 of them, at least. I recognized his handwriting right away, every letter precise. He always said details mattered. I pulled out the top ledger, settled into his chair, and breathed in the memory of his aftershave. The first entry punched the wind right out of me. January 2026. Giselle called requesting additional funds for Roland's business venture. Sent $3,500 as usual, makes 288 consecutive monthly payments. My hands shook as I grabbed his calculator. The math was simple, but I had to see it. $3,500 every month for 24 years. The number on the screen made my stomach drop. $1,008,000. They took over $1 million? I whispered, pressing my palms to the desk. I opened more ledgers. The same story over and over. Year after year, Walter sent them money. He tracked every payment. Tucked between the pages, I found photos, Giselle laughing on a yacht, Roland grinning at some exclusive golf course. The dates matched weeks Giselle said she was too busy to visit her sick father. Midnight. I moved to Walter's computer. His password popped right into my head, Clara's birthday. The one date he never forgot. On the desktop, a folder caught my eye, Giselle requests. I opened it. Email after email. The manipulation was so obvious, it almost made me laugh. Dad, Roland needs new equipment. The coach says he's got real potential. Daddy, I miss you so much, but I can't afford to visit. Just this once, could you help? In between, I found the nastier stuff. Mom always said you loved Anya more. Guess she was right. Roland barely wrote, but when he did, he wanted big money for business ventures. Nothing ever came of them. And suddenly, it all clicked. Giselle and Roland never saw Walter as a father or a grandfather. He was just an ATM. I shut the emails and tried to breathe. Instead, I started digging. Public records. Attorney Silas Thorne, it turns out, specializes in inheritance battles. Giselle's social media, usually locked down, had just enough public posts to hint at family wealth finally coming our way. Digging deeper, I found Roland's gambling debts, tens of thousands owed to people who don't exactly send gentle reminders. But the worst came from county records. Giselle had dragged other relatives through inheritance fights before. 3 times. It was all right there. They were building a story. Anya manipulated Walter at the end. She's the villain. She's the reason they don't have what they think they deserve. Dawn was breaking when I noticed a desk drawer I'd missed. My name, written in Walter's careful script. Inside, a sealed envelope, the wax still perfect. My hands shook as I opened it. Just one page. His handwriting. My dearest Anya, if you're reading this, they've already begun their pursuit. Remember what I taught you. Justice isn't always found in courtrooms. Sometimes, it's in standing firm for what's right. You've always been the best of me. They know that. That's why they're afraid of you. With all my love, Walter. Inside the envelope, I found a photograph I'd never seen before, Walter in his robes, young and stubborn, wearing the same determined look I saw staring back at me in the mirror. That's when the tears finally came, hot and sharp, washing something out of me, leaving behind something fiercer. I wouldn't let people who had abandoned me, and him, turn his memory into a prize. This wasn't just about money. This was about honoring the man who chose to be my father when my own wouldn't. The next morning, I met Judge Eleanor Vance at the courthouse cafe. Vance, hair pulled back in a tight gray knot, looked me over with those sharp, judge's eyes. We kept our voices low. "Walter spoke of you with such pride, Anya," Vance said, stirring her coffee without even glancing at the cup. He knew this day was coming. I didn't even try to hide my uncertainty. What do I do? Document everything. Your parents think you're weak. Use that, Vance replied, sliding a card across the table. Liam Foster clerked for your grandfather. He'll vouch for Walter's state of mind. That evening, my answering machine lit up with Giselle's voice, sweet and fake as ever. "Anya, darling, we need your legal expertise on this little inheritance matter." I wrote my reply with care, every word a line in the sand. Minutes after hitting send, my office phone rang. Giselle again, but this time the sugar had melted away. "But we're family." The word mother tasted strange as I said it. Family's more than just showing up for the money. An hour later, a message from Roland arrived, concern barely hiding the threats. I saved it, another exhibit for my growing file. That night, for the first time since Walter died, I slept through until morning. I'd paid a steep price, the final break with my parents. But what grew in its place was stronger, the rock-solid knowledge that I was Walter's true heir, in every way that mattered. 2 days later, the Boston Globe landed on my kitchen counter with a dull thud. There's Giselle, staring up at me from page 3, eyes shining with perfectly timed tears. "Heartbroken mother fights for justice," the headline screams. I read her invented story of devotion, feeling bow rise. "Walter was like a father to me after my own past," she claims. To see his wishes twisted by someone with such influence over him in his final days. I slammed the paper shut. The woman who visited her father 8 times in 10 years now acts like the grieving daughter. It'd almost be funny if it weren't so infuriating. My phone buzzes, Liam Foster, my colleague. "Roland Soren was here," he says, not even bothering with small talk. "Cornered me in the parking garage, asking if you've been acting unstable at work. Wanted to know if you're all right." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "What did you tell him?" I told him it was funny how interested he suddenly was, considering the inheritance fight. Liam paused. "Anya, they're coming at you from every direction. The Attorney General's office got anonymous calls about your ethics." Before I can even reply, my email pings. Marcus Vance. "Silas Thorne filed an emergency motion, says Walter wasn't competent when he signed the will. Court date's been moved up 2 weeks. They're pushing hard. Thorne's betting a rushed timeline will trip you up." The world feels smaller, tighter. Strangely, I don't panic. I just feel cold, clear anger. They think they'll break me. They're wrong. That night, I spread out files across Walter's old mahogany desk, the desk where he wrote opinions that shaped Massachusetts law. No time for sleep. I built a timeline, piece by piece, showing every year my parents were absent. One box holds holiday cards from 24 years, each one bland, nothing personal. "Merry Christmas, kiddo. Love, Mom and Dad." No mention of my wins or my interests. They never bothered to know me. I find a folder of Walter's journals. Giselle called again about money, he wrote when I was 14. Nothing about my piano recital, nothing about school. When he told Giselle I'd won the regional competition, she just changed the subject. In a dusty photo album, I find something that makes my hands shake, videos of my childhood milestones. High school graduation, college, law school. Each one, 2 chairs in the front row labeled Giselle and Roland Soren. Always empty. Walter kept saving them anyway, hoping they'd show. I run my finger over his careful handwriting. "They never really knew me at all," I whisper to the empty room. The next morning, I head to Mount Auburn Cemetery. The early autumn air bites a little as I set fresh flowers on Walter's grave. It's become my weekly routine, Something Giselle and Roland never bothered with, not while he was alive, not after. I'm arranging the stems when I hear footsteps crunch over gravel. I look up. Giselle's coming closer, wrapped tight in some designer coat. She looks surprised, then her face shifts. Calculating. I didn't expect to find you here, she says, glancing at her watch. Like Walter is just another thing to check off. I come every week, I tell her, standing up. In the distance, a groundskeeper scrapes leaves into neat piles. That rhythmic sound fills the silence between us. Giselle's face tightens. You turned him against us. She spits it out like an accusation, and it hangs there in the cold air. I take a slow breath, and for a second, I could almost feel Walter beside me. He saw you for who you are, I say quietly. So do I. My calm seems to get under her skin. Suddenly, that polished exterior cracks. She snaps, you always had it easy. His favorite. Her words are sharp, raw. We struggled while you lived in that mansion, getting everything handed to you. I look at her, really look. Maybe for the first time. There's so much bitterness under all that polish. I had grandparents because I had to, I say. You had a father and you chose to ignore him. She slaps me, quick and hard. My cheek stings, but I don't flinch. She freezes, her hand hanging awkwardly, eyes wide, like even she can't believe what she just did. That's the last time, I say, steady. You'll never touch me again. Then I just turn and walk away, leaving her alone by the grave of the father she never cared to know. Back home, 3 voicemails wait for me. Judge Vance wants to meet about court procedures. Marcus Vance offers to represent me pro bono. Walter helped him through law school when no one else did. The office manager approves my extended leave, even with our heavy caseload. Real support, from people who actually show up. Nothing like my so-called family. That afternoon, Liam Foster knocks, arms full of paperwork. Thorne's got a pattern, he says, spreading files across my table. Turns out Thorne's pulled the same tricks in 3 other inheritance cases, always for clients with flimsy claims to big estates. As Liam walks me through his findings, the doorbell rings again. It's Walter's old housekeeper, Mrs. Byrne, clutching a manila envelope. I was with him every day for 15 years, she says, steady and fierce. He was sharp until the end. I wrote down everything. Dates, conversations, all of it. Use it however you need. After she leaves, I add her statement to the pile. People keep appearing, offering support, evidence, their own memories of Walter. Every one of them shows me what loyalty actually looks like. Late that night, I find something tucked behind Walter's law books, a leather-bound journal I've never seen before. My hands shake as I open it. There's an entry from the week before he died. Giselle called about the will today. Not my health, though she pretended otherwise. Just questions about my estate. Never once asked how I was feeling. I flipped to the last page, dated 3 days before he died, appointed Anya executor. She's the only one with the integrity for this. The others will come for what they think they deserve. They'll underestimate her, like always. Inside the back cover, there's a sealed envelope addressed to the probate judge. Walter's handwriting is steady. He explains he was of sound mind, that his estate decisions were deliberate. 2 days later, at the preliminary hearing, I sit beside Marcus as he presents the letter, the medical records, the witness statements. Silas Thorne looks more and more tense while Judge Reynolds reviews the evidence. The evidence shows Justice Soren was fully aware of his decisions and their consequences, Judge Reynolds finally says, dismissing the motion. The will stands. Thorne's first public defeat. It's not everything, but it's a start. As we walk out, I catch Giselle's face. No more smug confidence, just real worry. For the first time. That evening, I put together a binder, financial records that lay out the exploitation, a timeline marking every time Giselle and Roland disappeared, medical records proving Walter's mental clarity, Giselle's conflicting statements marked in bold colors. I add video statements from Walter's colleagues and cross-reference Roland's gambling debts with their sudden interest in the will. Piece by piece, it all fits together. Their real motives, right there in black and white. I'm snapping the binder shut when my phone rings. Marcus is on the line, voice tight. Anya, I found sealed court records from Giselle's old disputes. She's done this before. 2 other wills, her uncle's in '01, her cousin's in 2010. Same routine every time. Same wild claims. I squeezed the phone a little tighter. There's a pattern here. Honestly, the moment Judge Vance called, I knew we had something. She'd found a precedent. Peterson versus Thornhill, 2012. The Massachusetts Supreme Court nailed it. If someone keeps challenging inheritances, it counts as exploitation. I slipped that case into my binder, feeling a quiet confidence settle over me. Walter's photo stared back from my desk, like he already knew the outcome. They'll never see this coming, I muttered into the empty room, hearing my own voice bounce back. The real showdown was right around the corner, but for the first time, I was sure I'd win. The day before court, I caught my reflection in the conference room glass as I stacked folders, lining them up by date. Each deposition transcript felt like another nail in Giselle and Roland's coffin, a coffin they'd spent 24 years building, one bad decision at a time. Marcus walked in, juggling coffee and a mess of briefs. His tie was crooked, proof we'd both been up all night. They filed a motion to exclude, he said, dumping everything on the table. Claim our evidence is prejudicial. I just nodded. Of course they did. My voice stayed calm, even though I could feel the anger building inside. Which judge? Marcus winced. Peterson. Not great. Judge Peterson was famous for playing it safe, never taking chances. I'd won twice in his courtroom. Barely. Good thing we had backup plans. I tapped the blue folder marked contingencies. Walter drilled that into me. Always prepare for every possible move, good or bad. When's the hearing? Tomorrow, 9 a.m. He checked his watch. 20 hours to lock down the psych testimony. I turned to the window and watched Boston skyline. Somewhere out there, Giselle was probably picking the perfect dress, practicing her sob story. The Boston Herald lay open on the table, her face, all red eyes and trembling lips, splashed across page 3. Mother fights for family legacy. Their PR person had earned her paycheck. The article made me out to be some cold, scheming daughter, using an old man for his money. For a second, doubt crept in, not about the law, but about what people believed. Did they buy her act? This isn't about headlines, I told myself, thinking back to what Judge Vance said last night. The court cares about evidence, not gossip columns. Through all of this, Vance kept me steady, always reminding me to play the long game. They want you to react. Don't give them that satisfaction. My phone buzzed. Liam Foster, our numbers guy, found something. Lunch? I shot back a quick yes. The deposition schedule felt like a perfectly arranged set list. Financial analyst Jerome Bennett at 10, Dr. Levinson on Walter's mental state after that. By the afternoon, 3 witnesses from Giselle's old inheritance battles would show up, still in the dark about each other until they crossed paths in the waiting room. Marcus shuffled through some papers. Your boss called. Roland stopped by the DA's office yesterday. My hand froze over my calendar. What did he want? Questioned your emotional stability. Said you might be misusing office resources. Marcus's jaw clenched. He's pushing the conflict of interest angle. Classic. I could see their game, attack my job, undermine my evidence. Smart, but desperate. I closed my eyes and let myself feel that fury for just a heartbeat, then pushed it aside. What did Jameson say? He told Roland to put his complaints in writing and go through proper channels. Marcus cracked a smile. Then said he's looking forward to supporting his best ADA in court tomorrow. Something warmed inside me, not gloating, just a sense of being seen. That's real support. Not Giselle's fake tears or Roland's pretend concern, but people standing with you when it counts. By noon, I'd fixed the technical error Thorne's team tried to use against us. Just a date off by a day, easy to fix, but it could have stalled us if I missed it. Their whole strategy was clear now, wear us down with 1,000 little cuts. Force us to waste time, energy, money. Drag it out. Liam showed up with a fat folder of bank statements. Tracked the money, he said, spreading sheets across the table. Every transfer from Walter to Giselle for 24 years. But check this out. He pointed to the highlighted lines. The payments spiked every time Roland hit a career snag. $5,000 here, $5,000 there, always after he lost a job or got demoted. The pattern couldn't have been clearer. $10,000 after his final release from the minors. Every time Roland's career took a hit, the family came back with bigger financial demands. They weren't just draining him, they were doing it with precision. Liam called it bleeding him dry. I disagreed. They were bleeding him strategically. After Liam left, I sat alone in the office, Boston sunlight slicing across the stack of paperwork in front of me. That's when it really hit me. This fight wasn't about cash. Sure, the inheritance was huge, $4.1 million. But underneath all the numbers, this case was about something you can't put a price on: Walter's right to decide what happened to his legacy. His agency. My phone buzzed. Giselle. For a moment, I almost let it go to voicemail, but I picked up and put her on speaker as Marcus walked in. Anya, darling. Her voice was pure performance, that careful, syrupy concern she always turned on when she wanted something. This has gotten out of hand. We can work this out as a family. Family. The way she said it was empty, just a word, not a promise. That's what court is for now, I said, keeping my voice steady. You're being ridiculous. Your father and I, she started, but I cut her off, rattling off the facts like I was reading from a case file. You filed false claims about Walter's mental state. You hired a PR firm. You wanted my boss with a bunch of made-up concerns. She went quiet for a beat, the pause saying more than any words. We can split it. 60-40. Marcus arched an eyebrow. 60-40. Not even trying to hide the insult. I'll see you in court tomorrow, Giselle. I hung up. The next morning, the courtroom was buzzing, everyone on edge. Silas Thorne stood out, sharp suit, hair perfectly in place, but you could see the cracks. He didn't look as sure of himself as he had on day one. Roland sat apart from Giselle, the space between them widening as things got uglier. Dr. Levinson took the stand first. She walked through Walter's cognitive assessments, rattling off her credentials. Marcus leaned forward. In your professional opinion, was Justice Soren mentally competent when he revised his will? Absolutely, she said. His MMSE score was 29 out of 30, exceptional for any age. Then Thorne got up, trying to rattle her. And yet you never assessed him specifically for undue influence, did you? Marcus didn't miss a beat. Objection. Calls for speculation. Sustained, the judge said. The look on Thorne's face said it all. He thought he was facing amateurs. He was wrong. By lunchtime, the financial analyst had laid out every single payment Walter ever made to Giselle, $3,500 a month. For 24 years, $1,008,000 total. The number glowed on the big screen, and the courtroom went silent. Giselle leaned over, whispering frantically to Thorne. Their story, the loyal daughter unfairly cut out, was falling apart in front of everyone. The afternoon brought out 3 witnesses from Giselle's past. Ex-in-laws, distant relatives, people she'd fought with over other wills. One after another, they painted a clear, ugly picture. This wasn't the first time Giselle had tried to manipulate a legacy. Roland kept shifting in his seat, sliding further away from Giselle with every damning answer. How many times did Mrs. Soren visit her uncle during his final illness? Marcus asked. Once, the witness said. The day after he revised his will. The judge's pen froze midair. When court adjourned, reporters swarmed Giselle. Her tears looked fake now, her talk of family and devotion flat in the face of everything that had come out that morning. I packed up slowly, not dragging my feet, but not rushing either. First round to us, Marcus murmured as we walked out. But tomorrow's going to be tougher. He was right. Tomorrow, they'd come at us with their own witnesses, emotional outbursts, attacks on character. But for the first time since Walter died, I felt him with me, not as grief, but as backbone. I could almost hear him. Justice isn't always in the courtroom. Sometimes it's just standing up for what's right. And now, finally, the truth was clawing its way into the open. One document, one witness, one undeniable fact after another. After court, Giselle's heels echoed down the hallway, way too loud in the quiet. She showed up at my office without warning, eyes glistening, tears ready to go before she'd even opened her mouth. She'd come prepared to perform. Anya. Her voice broke on cue. Can we talk? Just us? I pointed to the chair across from me, noticing the bracelet on her wrist, Walter's gift for her 30th birthday. She'd even brought old family photos, laying them out between us like a hand of poker. Blood is thicker than water, Anya, she said, running a finger along the edge of a faded Polaroid. I'm 6, sitting on Walter's lap. Giselle wasn't there that day. We're still family, despite all this. Is that why you're here? Family? She dabbed at her eye. We want to settle. We'll drop the case for half the inheritance. It's more than fair. Half of what Walter meant for me. All those years, and that's what family meant to her. Giselle's hand shakes as she slides a photo toward me, Clara holding me at graduation. Your grandmother would want us to reconcile, she says. Clara always believed in forgiveness. My phone vibrates again. Roland. Third call in 20 minutes. They're coming at me from all sides. Your cousins are worried, Anya, Giselle goes on. Everyone thinks you're making a terrible mistake. They all remember how close we were. Something inside me flickers, an old, stubborn hope, then I snuff it out. I stand up, stack the photos. Court's back at 9 tomorrow, Mother. The courthouse feels off this morning. You can almost taste the tension as Silas Thorne strides to the bench, dripping confidence, maybe too much. Your Honor? His voice is all performance, aimed at Judge Reynolds. This case is about manipulation. A woman who cut an elderly man off from his daughter, his only real family, and made herself his whole world. His caretaker. His gatekeeper. I watch the judge, looking for any sign he's buying it. Thorne's better than I thought he'd be. The defense has painted Walter Soren as a sharp legal mind, untouched by age. Thorne twists that. But brilliance can blind, Your Honor. Miss Soren ran a campaign to control her grandfather's final years, and now his estate. He gestures toward me, milking the moment. We move for a psychological evaluation of Anya Soren. This need for control points to deeper issues. The court should order an assessment before distributing assets. People start whispering all around us. Marcus, my lawyer, is scribbling like mad. Thorne keeps going. We've got affidavits from 3 of Walter Soren's former colleagues who saw his decline. The will's execution was a regular look. Even the witnesses were loyal to Miss Soren, not neutral parties. He waves the documents. Judge Reynolds glances at me, face impossible to read. For the first time, I'm not sure how this ends. Then Walter's doctor takes the stand and things shift. Mr. Soren had arthritis in his hands, Dr. Mendoza says, but his mind was sharp. I ran cognitive tests every 6 months at his request. He scored in the superior range until the end. I lean into Marcus, whisper, call Walter's bank manager next. He raises his eyebrows. This wasn't in our plan. Trust me, I say. Minutes later, William Foster sits up there, bow tie crooked. Marcus starts, Mr. Foster, did Giselle Soren ever try to access her father's accounts while he was alive? Thorne jumps up, objection, beyond the scope. Judge Reynolds waves him off. I'll allow it. Continue. Foster adjusts his glasses. Yes, 3 times. Most recently, 4 days before Mr. Soren's death, she brought in a healthcare power of attorney he never signed. The room goes silent. I feel Giselle's eyes burning into my back, but I don't look at her. No further questions, Marcus says. Somehow, we've flipped the script. The defense is on offense now. The last day, the courtroom's packed. When I take the stand, every eye is on me. Marcus asks, Miss Soren, why are you contesting your parents' claim to your grandfather's estate? I look him in the eye. It's not about money. I walk them through it, a whole childhood of waiting by windows, empty chairs at school, birthdays marked by missed calls that always came late. I'd like to read from my grandfather's journal, I say, and open the worn leather cover. October 12th, 2021. Giselle called today. I hoped, maybe foolishly, my illness would finally make her want to be a mother. But she just wanted to talk about my investments. Giselle shifts in her seat, uncomfortable. I hold up an old calendar, the pages peppered with red X's. My grandmother Clara tracked Giselle's broken promises. 24 years worth, Your Honor. When I finish, Marcus stands. Your Honor, We'd like to play a video deposition from Walter Soren, recorded 6 months before his death. Thorne objects, but Judge Reynolds waves him off. Walter fills the screen, sitting in his study. His hands are twisted with arthritis, but his eyes are bright and his voice is steady. I make this recording in sound mind and body, he starts, anticipating a challenge to my will. I left my estate to my granddaughter, Anya. Not because I was confused or pressured, no, I did it with a clear purpose. He leans in, those familiar judge's eyes locking onto the camera. Giselle, if you're watching, hear this. I loved you until the end, but you chose to walk away. Anya stayed. The law recognizes both blood and choice, and so did I. Giselle's breath catches. Roland just stares at his shoes. The next screen flashes up, 24 years of bank records, monthly payments in red. $1,008,000, all told. A calendar flips past. Anya cared for Walter every day, 3,000 days. Giselle? She showed up 8 times. Then the clerk stands and reads Walter's letter to the court. The words hang in the air. I name Anya as executor. She's the only one I trust with this. Judge Reynolds doesn't even bother leaving the bench. He gives his ruling right there. The court rejects the challenge. The will stands. He slides off his glasses and pauses. Honestly, this lawsuit is a waste of time, he says, maybe worse. Plaintiffs will cover attorney fees. Giselle jumps up, shouting, "This is absurd, I'm his daughter." Order, Judge Reynolds barks, gavel cracking through the noise. Court's adjourned. Reporters crowd us as we leave. Giselle fights her way through them and grabs my arm. Anya, she pleads, her voice raw. I'm your mother. I face her, flashes popping all around. Clara was my mother, I say, quiet but steady. You gave birth. Giselle breaks down, tears streaming in front of the cameras. Roland slips away, not even glancing back. Funny how the balance of power has flipped since that first day in court. Outside, sunlight hits my face. I shrug off my jacket and feel lighter than I have in ages. Deep breath, Marcus says, grinning next to me. You did it. How do you want to celebrate? Walking down the courthouse steps, I think about it. I want to plant roses at their graves today. The driver opens the car door for me. Where to? Assistant District Attorney Soren. I settle into the back seat, watching the courthouse shrink behind me. Home, I say. Just home. A year passes. Morning light fills my office, the windows finally uncovered after I realized I'd been living in Walter's shadow for too long. The walls breathe again, lined with law books, some his, some mine. Clara's knitting basket sits on my credenza, now packed with case files instead of yarn, but still holding her spirit. The phone rings, snapping me out of my thoughts. Judge Soren? It's Angela from the foundation, her voice bubbling with good news. The Soren Fund just approved its first 5 scholarship recipients. I run my fingers over Walter's gavel, polished and set on my desk. Tell me about them, I say. All raised by grandparents. Angela tells me about a girl from Portland. She wrote about feeling more herself with her grandmother than she ever did with her mom. Something loosens in my chest. This is exactly why we started this. I glance at my calendar. No more back-to-back obligations, just purpose. The money Giselle and Roland once fought over now pays for kids like me to go to college. The robing ceremony from last week still feels unreal. I'm a circuit court judge now, in the same courthouse where I battled Giselle. There's a kind of symmetry here, like Walter couldn't have written it better. Judge Vance placed the robe over my shoulders in Walter's old chambers, her hands steady. Your grandfather stood right here, she whispered, but you've already gone further than he ever dreamed. Before I left, I tucked a small photo of Clara and Walter into the robe's lining. Now it rests against my heart every time I take the bench. The court clerk did a double-take swapping the nameplate. The Honorable Anya Soren. Walter's legacy lives on, but now it's my turn. Yesterday, a letter from Giselle arrived. Cream envelope, expensive paper, her handwriting looping across the page. She wants reconciliation now that I've made something of myself. Last year, I'd have been desperate for that, or furious. Today, I just read it twice, weighing her words like I'd weigh any case. My reply was short. I wish you well, but our paths split a long time ago. No anger, no need to prove anything, just clarity. This morning, over coffee, Judge Vance caught the change in me. "Walter would be proud of your piece," she said. And I believe her. The hardest call is knowing when to finally let go. She's right. I'm out of that loop, waiting for a kind of parental love that was never coming. What used to be an open wound is just a scar now. It's there, sure, but it doesn't hurt anymore. And I didn't get here alone. These days, I run a sort of unofficial mentoring group for young lawyers, mostly the ones juggling tough family stuff. Every spring and fall, the roses I plant at Clara and Walter's graves show up, blooming like little reminders. I don't shy away from talking about my therapist at work anymore, either. She helped me come up with new ways to spend the holidays, so those days aren't just a minefield of old pain. Last night, I jotted something down in my journal. Finding family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. Just yesterday, Jennifer Davis, one of the newer attorneys, caught me in the hallway. She's got those eyes that look older than she is. "My mother's contesting my grandmother's will," she said, her voice barely holding steady. I didn't dump my whole story on her. I just passed along something Walter once told me. Justice starts with telling the truth. 5 years down the road, I'm staring at myself in the mirror in the Massachusetts Supreme Court chambers, age 39, straightening my robe. For a split second, I catch Giselle's sneer from that first courtroom in my mind. But it doesn't rattle me. It's just background noise now. Then the bailiff's voice rings out, "All rise for Justice Sorin." I can feel the weight of all that came before, but it's steady now, almost reassuring. I know who I am. 20 years later, there's gray in my hair, and I'm presiding over a family case that's almost a mirror of my own past. The young woman on the stand talks about grandparents who stepped in when her parents walked away. I quote Walter's words, the ones I'll never forget: "Justice isn't always found in courtrooms. Sometimes it's just standing up for the truth." My last words echo through the room. Justice is the family we choose. Presence is how we prove it. The new lawyers scribble it all down, learning more than just case law. As the courtroom empties, I reach into my robe pocket and find the old photo, edges worn, purpose crystal clear. Walter was right. Love is a choice you make every single day.